All right, Ambitions fans. Now, in this video, and yes, I can already see the torches, pitchforks, and everything else in between. Jeremy, you traitor, how dare you? You made your channel off the haves and the have-nots. Why in the world are you saying another show is better than the haves and the have-nots? It's impossible to say that there's a show better than the haves and the have-nots. That's like saying Michael Jackson's Thriller, even though it was the best-selling album in the world, even though it was only topped in the U.S. and not the rest of the globe, that you're saying that Thriller isn't the best Michael Jackson album. And in my opinion, it probably isn't. But in any case, this video, the haves and the have-nots. Okay. I'm going to discuss 5 reasons why I think Ambition Season 1, because of course there's only one season. I want to talk about the areas I feel that Ambition Season 1 proved to be superior to the haves and the have-nots, at least within the past couple of seasons, like season 5, 6, and what we already have of season 7. And I know I might be a bit too unfair to judge season 7 since we're only like 4 episodes in, but let's keep in mind, folks, the pacing is probably going to be about the same until the mid-season finale. So with that being said, these are just my opinions. If you disagree, oh well, you can like or dislike the video. The way the YouTube algorithm is set up, even dislikes help out the video, so have at it. But make sure you leave your comments and thoughts below. That way we can keep the conversation going. Make sure you sign the petition to help save the series for Ambitions. Links to my social media are in the description box below. And make sure you subscribe. That way you can keep up with my content that you can agree or disagree with. So, in no particular order, I'm just going to talk about 5 basic things that I like about Ambition Season 1. Number 5, the music. When it comes to the Tyler Perry series, series, but let's just talk about the haves and the have-nots. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only time in this series that I recall there being a song that was like kind of mainstream or popular at one time or another was when Stephanie Mills came on there to sing one of my favorite songs, I Feel Good All Over. Other than that, Tyler Perry pretty much, and I believe this is true, similar to how he used to do in the plays and whatnot, he would write his own songs. That way he wouldn't have to pay for, royalties and stuff like that, which actually was a smart business move. That way, you can keep that money instead of, spending it for another artist's song. But when you look at Ambitions, there are just so many great songs like New Editions, If It Is in Love, and some of the great songs that occurred during like the cliffhanger moments or slow motion moments. And a lot of the songs I might not know off the top of my head, but just watching the episodes, Ambitions reminded me of Black Lightning on the CW. They were just great shows that knew how to pick the right song to fit the mood of what was going on. Hell, even the song that was playing in the cliffhanger when Senior was killed, there were just so many great moments. So the music to me really captured what was going on. Whereas Tyler Perry music, well, it isn't bad. It's just that the music is kind of repetitive. Like, you can, even if you watched a scene, and even if you watch like an episode with captions without the audio on, you could kind of know what music is playing in the background, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Once again, it's just the fact that you know the mood so well, you can kind of pick what music is playing in the back or not. But I think Ambition just had a better musical score, in my opinion. Number 4, the story. I felt like when it came to the story of Ambitions, every character, well, no pun intended, had their own ambitions, their own reason for doing what they do, whether it be underhanded tactics or doing things the right way. I think Titus is one of the prime examples of someone, well, not counting the Damien storyline, but in terms of working for Purifor, he wanted to stick around and do the right thing, even if it meant being, talked down to by Hunter, and unfortunately led to him being run over and left in the streets like a dead raccoon or whatever. Sorry, I know that's a bad analogy, but I remember watching some of those Geico commercials, because you know how they bring out the old ones like the Pinocchios and the woodchucks and the raccoons. So I don't know, I just thought about it. But basically everyone had a story. Everyone felt worthy to watch. I honestly didn't think of a lot. I can't really pinpoint like one storyline that annoyed the heck out of me. I mean, the Damien thing was creepy, but it kept me on my toes because it's like, okay, I wonder what this nut is going to do next to Amara or Stephanie or whatever. He's like the one person that just doesn't take a hint. So while it might be annoying, at least he keeps things fresh. Like, the fact that he had dirt on even Stephanie by leaving the cameras in her office at work and just saw her and Greg and then her and her mother. So there are so many things that he brings to the table, despite being creepy like Justin from the Haves and Have-Nots or Randall from If Loving You Was Wrong. And, so many different things like, Bella and Evan, and then Evan and Peters, and Titus and Damien, Hunter and Stephen Carlisle. So I think the story definitely kept you engaged because of the fact that everyone had a story. Some of them will be intertwined, but no character felt like they were taking up space. Everyone felt like they had their own story to be told. And I really do appreciate that, as opposed to the Haves and the Have-Nots, where it is impressive how Tyler Perry weaves the storylines together, but some of these characters, and I'll get into this in some of the other 3 categories, but some of the characters' stories are pretty played out. Like they've been in the same storyline for quite a while, or their storyline is like swapped with someone else. Like, oh, this character was in jail one season, now they're out of jail, and then another character's in their place in jail. One character's in the hospital, another character is, it's just nonsense. So now let's move to number 3. And it has to do with a big one, and it's consequences. And I've brought this up before. When I say consequences, I mean when a character makes an iffy choice, the consequences of those actions occur maybe not right away, but within 1 or 2 episodes, as opposed to the Haves and the Have-Nots, where someone can be murdered and that murder isn't brought up for a couple of years. And when I say a couple of years, I mean in our time, but in the show's time, that's only like maybe a week or so. So I think on Ambitions, like Stephanie, blackmailing someone, or let's say Bella cheating, that kind of stuff, all those actions come back to haunt them in one shape or another. And I like it. I mean, hell, to consequence, like Amara cheating on Titus, that was one of the big stories of the season. Damien came back into her life via Stephanie. And you have to deal with the fact that Lori cheated on Carly. And then, she exposed herself to Carly to avoid Stephanie holding that blackmail over her. Hunter sending those emails, and now they blew up. And I really do like how they captured that in the show, where we live in a day and age where people will find tweets and emails from decades ago and then use that to try to ruin your career. So I will say that consequences is one of the key reasons why Ambitions outshine the Haves and the Have-Nots, whereas we have Veronica, we're what? Coming up like the 7th year of the show being on the air, and we're still waiting for Veronica to get her comeuppance. So I think that so far we have music, story, and consequences. Now we move on to number 2, and that's character, which kind of goes hand in hand with number 4, the story, and number 3, consequences, because the characters on Ambitions, once again, I know I sound like a broken record because I say this in almost every Ambition video, I love the fact that not every single character is in every single episode. It really does show that the story keeps on moving because characters show up when they need to show up. They're not in the story just because they need to have 30 seconds on camera. They don't have to be in every episode to remind you of what their character is. It's just the fact that every character has an interesting story that you want to see. Sure, some characters might seem more interesting than others, but I feel like when it comes down to it, there's a major diversity. When you look at the Haves and the Have-Nots, the title says it all. You have the haves and then you have the have-nots. But when you look at Ambitions, well, every character has their ambitions, but characters come from all walks of life. You have Rondell and Senior and Bella's mother. Is it Inez? I think that's her mother's name. They're from the banks. They're pretty much on the have-not side of the city. Then you have Evan, who climbed up the ranks to get out of that lifestyle in order to, well, make it big. And now he's the mayor, married to someone like Stephanie, who comes from a power family, a family with power. But that's not to say her mother didn't come from the banks as well. So then you have Greg Peters, who's somebody who's in opposition to people on the banks. And then you have Hunter Purifoy and his company, which is rivals to the Stephanie Carlisle's family firm. And the list goes on. So all these characters have their own stories. And to me, none of these characters seem one note. You could argue that Stephanie is a bit one note because she's always wicked, but she's had times where she's shown sympathy and love for other characters. But kind of like Veronica and even Candace on the Haves and the Have-Nots, and this is a good comparison, not a bad one. I keep saying that Veronica and Candace both are capable of love, but their own selfish desires are what put everyone else to the side. Everyone else is second because Veronica and Candace both love power. They both love control. And when you look at Candace, her biggest thing is the hustle. That kind of thing is what drives her. She's not easily going to give that up. At the end of the day, she is who she is. And then when you look at Stephanie, it's all about control. Like, she wants to usurp her own father's position as head of the company, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to get there, even blackmail. And as we saw, thankfully, Evan and Steven worked together in order to put Stephanie in her place. So characters are great. I mean, there's a lot of diversity. And heck, when you look at different things like the fact that Carly is lesbian, but her father and mother don't care about it, but her grandfather does. And then you look at the fact that, you know, Rondell is very protective of her father and does, you know, was kind of jealous that, you know, he might be getting married, you know, before he got killed, of course. But and then even the brother and sister dynamic. I remember praising this all the time, the brother and sister dynamic of Evan and Rondell. I love that because when you see how low down and dirty Evan can be when it comes to stepping out on Stephanie with Daphne and then being this badass who can like also he was with Bella, and then, you know, this badass who can, you know, protect his image around town by what was it, Roderick? That was the guy that Bella was dating at the beginning of the series until, you know, he had a falling out with Evan. Yeah, that's right. So basically a character. I love that. And then finally we get to number one, and this is the one I definitely put at number one regardless of my in no particular order statement. The pacing of the series was so damn good. I never found myself looking at my, looking at the clock, because how many people wear watches nowadays? So I never found myself looking at, oh great, when is this episode over? No. The only time I remember looking at the clock is like, damn, I'm already over one page of notes from the episode and we're only 15 minutes in, because so much was happening. There was never a dull moment in Ambition. Someone was always getting a phone call. Someone always was getting a text message. Someone was always getting an email. Like, I can barely think of any episode where Evan Lancaster was sitting still, because he was always on the run. So was Stephanie. Amara could be in her office one minute, but then get a lead on a case and then go across town. Then you have Titus, you know, digging dirt on the Purifours to try to find out something that could either help or potentially unearth the truth about the company. Then you had Rondell getting petitions and signatures signed so she can save Thelma's place. Matter of fact, that is kind of ironic. You have Rondell getting these signatures trying to save Thelma's, and we're trying to get signatures to save Ambitions. Look at that. But in any case, it just felt like there was never a dull moment. Something was always happening. One character would have the power 1 minute, and then the character would just get the rug pulled out from underneath them. Unlike the Haves and the Have-Nots, where you would have a character who would have power for way too long. Then when they finally get tripped up, guess what? Oh, never mind. They're going to get back into the power position in no time flat. So overall, pacing, character, consequences, music, and story. 5 categories that I feel Ambition Season 1 excelled in, which surpassed the Haves and the Have-Nots at least over the past couple of years. But as I said, just my opinion. I've already done my social media plugs at the beginning of the video, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, hopefully we'll get a season 2, which could possibly outshine season 1.